I told you. I fucking told you. I told you the fucking Rams are gonna win the championship. If you've been following this channel, obviously have the off season where I gave you my predictions and I told you that the Rams are gonna win the championship. I told everybody that they just have the best team. Come postseason time, you have enough playmakers on the defensive side of the ball with enough playmakers on the offensive side that I thought they'd be good enough to get it done. All you Stafford haters out there, it's gonna probably be the title of my video. I don't know exactly how I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna try to make it as probably gonna try to make it as clickbaity as possible. Just cause I'm fucking petty as shit like that. But seriously guys, what's going on? Welcome back to Football Talk with Vinny. Obviously in the video, I want to talk about a couple points. A, me being right on picking this last offseason, just my preseason predictions. I had told everyone that I thought the Rams were going to win the championship, so obviously with them winning the Super Bowl, that obviously feels good for myself. And also just the whole Matthew Stafford thing, even when I made the video saying that they had traded for him, I thought it was huge. I thought it was going to make them instantly the favorites. And I said in the video, I think, that I possibly am going to pick them to win the Super Bowl. Now, with that being said, if you've watched the channel enough, that's probably as much gloating as I'm going to do, because I'm more of a realistic fan. And again, by realistic, I mean knowledgeable. And I'm trying to help those of you out there to be more knowledgeable as well. So unfortunately, in the world we live in, we like to, when the Rams win the Super Bowl, for example, say that every player on the Rams is the best ever, Matthew Stafford should be in the Hall of Fame, and all this other stuff, right? And what we're really doing is we over-exaggerate the winners and we kind of like talk shit about the teams that lose, with not understanding that football is a game of inches, and although the Rams won the Super Bowl, they were a couple plays away from losing the NFC Championship game, and a couple of plays of losing in the Super Bowl, and also a couple of plays to losing in the divisional round when it looked like the fucking Bucks were about to come back from a massive deficit again and Tom Brady was about to do it again. So on one hand, I'm great. On one hand, I'm proud that I was correct in my prediction, but as a knowledgeable football fan and just understanding the game the way I understand the game, you have to understand that there's so many one-score games that for you to say that you were right and you were correct, even myself in the prediction of the Rams, right? Literally, you're talking about 3 playoff games of the 4 they played where 1 play or 2 plays could have determined the outcome of the ball game. They were just fortunate this season to have that 1 play here or there could have changed the outcome of all 3 of those last 3 playoff games for the Rams, right? Although, yes, I am right and the Rams ended up winning the Super Bowl, I still understand that a lot of luck had to be involved in order for them to win. And I think that's a problem that most fans have of most sports teams is you don't really realize, especially in football specifically, that the games are so tight, regular season games and playoff games, that 1 or 2 plays could determine the outcome of a ball game. So you never really want to judge someone solely on the fact of if they won a championship or not, which is why I hate the fucking argument of like if a player wins a championship or is a Super Bowl champ, that automatically makes him a Hall of Famer. You're essentially just saying that, oh, player A got lucky in this postseason run and won a championship. And well, yes, it's not luck because you do have to play and you have to play well. What about the times where Aaron Rodgers was phenomenal in a postseason game and their defense gave up 35 plus points? Sure, it didn't happen this season, right? Aaron Rodgers played poorly and he was actually the reason why their team lost. But what about those other times? And there was multiple more of those other times where he played fantastic in a playoff game and his defense let him down than this season when he played poorly in a playoff game. So are we going to give Aaron Rodgers credit for a Super Bowl victory the years he played fantastic and his defense let him down? No, we're not. So it's kind of like a ridiculous argument where you know, where you get into the situation where you're going to credit a guy for winning a championship, even though you have to understand that even during championship runs, there are plays that literally if they go the other way, you no longer have a Super Bowl championship, right? You can do that with almost any quarterback. There are a couple of Tom Brady Super Bowls where he wouldn't have There are a couple of Tom Brady Super Bowls where either A, the defense played phenomenal, which is the reason why they won, or a couple of plays were made that were kind of like, not fluky plays, but If they don't go their way and those plays don't happen, they don't win. So you're essentially kind of just like, you're painting a picture as if it's black and white. You either got it done or you didn't, not understanding that in the game of football, there's 100+ plays that are run in a football game. And if a game is tight, a 3-point game, you're saying 1 or 2 plays could determine the outcome of a game out of 100. Like, that's less than 1 or 2% of one of those plays. So at that point, statistically, like, it's very rare to win in the playoffs. But us as a society, that's not really how we view these things, right? If we were to go back 2-3 weeks from now, or, if we were to go back 2-3 weeks ago, and let's just say they lose to the Niners in the NFC Championship game, and it really doesn't matter at that point who goes on to win the Super Bowl, the knock would still be on Stafford as he can't win the big game, and the knock on the Rams would still be, oh, they spent all this money, and it didn't work out, and you don't have a Super Bowl championship, and you trade away all your draft picks, right? But, like, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter which path you take to get to the Super Bowl. It's very difficult for any team to win the Super Bowl. So realistically, like, I just think that the way that we choose to kind of like, make everything like a black and white thing, like, oh, well, the Rams won. I say black and white thing, not a racial thing, right? More of like, it's not a gray area. It's either all or nothing. It's probably the better phrasing for it. But anyways, I mean that in a sense of like, you either win the Super Bowl or you don't, right? So to me, it's kind of like, it's a terrible way to think, because you're not understanding that the game of football, or just most sports in general, is a lot of plays are made during a particular ball game. And if 1 or 2 plays can change the outcome of a game, you're saying that the odds of winning are very slim. So at the end of the day, whether you win a Super Bowl or not should not be a determining factor of whether you're viewed as a great player, or you're viewed as a choker, or you're viewed as a clutch player. Like, that's just ridiculous. Because to me, and again, look, I was correct in saying the Rams were going to win the Super Bowl, but I'm still knowledgeable enough to understand that, the Rams, even though they won the Super Bowl, they had to get lucky on a couple plays, right? They had to make some key plays in some key spots, right, in order to win. And this is obviously the problem, right? Because when Stafford was in Detroit, you heard it from all the idiots. Oh, Stafford's just a stat patter, and this is all he does. He just throws for a bunch of yards and a bunch of touchdowns, but he's not a winner. The fuck does a winner mean? Like, I just get so fucking irritated by that stupid ass comment, because it doesn't mean shit. What the hell is that supposed to mean? He's not a winner. He went to a good team with a good roster, and he won the Super Bowl. So now all of a sudden he's a fucking winner? The hell is wrong with that thought process? Of understanding that no, he's a phenomenal player who plays for a bad team, and if he were ever to either A, have a good team around him, or go to another team, he would look much better because the team is better. And that's what happened with Stafford. That's what would happen with a lot of teams, a lot of players, and a lot of just not quarterbacks, but just other positional players as well. If they went into a better situation with a better roster, they would look better. Now, obviously, we do it mostly with the quarterback position, right? So there's plenty of quarterbacks that people talk about them being stat patters. It's like, Dak Prescott's a good one. A lot of fucking idiots say that Dak Prescott is a stat patter. That doesn't mean, like, what the fuck does that even mean again? Like, other than this year, our defense had played historically bad over Dak Prescott's first 3-4 seasons. So if you have an historically bad defense, you have to put up big numbers in order to put yourself in a position to win ball games. And you look at this year, Dak's stats were not as crazy, but that's because his defense actually was able to get some stops. Now, they got it in the form of turnovers, but they were able to get some stops, so you didn't have to rely on Dak to throw over 400 yards a game in order to keep you in a ball game. Yes, there was a couple games where he had to do that, but that wasn't every game. Now, obviously, I can fucking ramble on this for an hour plus, so I'm going to keep the video a little short. I wanted to kind of keep it focused on Matthew Stafford, and obviously the Rams win the Super Bowl. So obviously, congratulations to the Rams for winning the Super Bowl. Congratulations to Stafford for winning it. But I just want people, because it's going to be a clickbaity title. I know I'm going to make it something crazy. So I just want everyone out there, if you have a brain, want everyone out there that has an open mind to understand that even though, look at me, I was correct on the Rams. I was correct when I said Stafford going to the Rams is going to be a huge addition to the team. And he's not just a stat patter. He's a very good quarterback. He's a fringe top 5 quarterback. Even though I was right, I still realized that there was 3 playoff games where they easily could have lost, right? You could have lost through those last 3 games. They were all tight ball games. Sure, you were blowing out the Bucs, but the Bucs were able to make it very close, and Stafford had some big plays down the stretch after the Bucs tied it to hit that deep bomb with Cooper Kupp in order to give them a chance to win the ball game. And a couple more things I wanted to address. Obviously for Stafford, right, in the sense of people are like, oh, he's not clutch and all that. For someone who's not clutch, I saw some stat on ESPN that came across on my Instagram. It was a post that said he's the second quarterback in NFL history to have 3 game-winning drives in the postseason in one particular postseason. He had the highest QBR in the 4th quarter of a 1-score game this season of any quarterback in the NFL, and he had 14 touchdowns to 0 interceptions in the 4th quarter. So again, for someone who's not clutch, those all seem like extremely clutch numbers to me. So again, with that being said, this is why I'm more of like an even keel kind of person, is because I've watched football for so long and I study the game and I just love the game. So I understand that at the end of the day, like, football is very close. Even the teams at the bottom that we think are trash and terrible, right? Like Jacksonville, who has the #1 overall pick. They played a game this season against the Buffalo Bills, who are one of the very better teams in the league, and they beat them. Right? It was like a score of 6-3 or 9-6, and they won. So again, the talent gap in the NFL is not as wide as everyone seems to think it is, which is why a team like Cincinnati can go from a 4-12 record in the Super Bowl the very next year. It's why the NFL is as popular as it is. But again, with that being said, what I really want to try to kind of do in this video is, for those of you watching who have an open mind, is to really make you understand that it's not black and white, right? There's no such thing as you're not clutch or you are clutch or this or that, right? Like, these players are all talented. They all get paid to do a job. At the end of the day, like, sometimes they're going to come through, sometimes they're not, right? You're not going to win every time. You're also not going to lose every time. And also, another very big one is, in the NFL specifically, it's a 53-man roster, right? When you judge a quarterback based off of wins, I think is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Like, at the end of the day, sure, I get it. The quarterback position is more important than any other position, but it doesn't mean that if you have a good quarterback, you're guaranteed to win a Super Bowl. That's just not how this works. You have to have a talented roster and a good quarterback usually to win a Super Bowl. So again, obviously, if you clicked on it for the clickbaity things, you're obviously not even still here. But if you did make it this far, hopefully I've changed your opinion on, how you judge players. So I'm going to give you one example. One of my friends is a Titans fan, right? So when they lost, he said, he had texted me something like along the lines of, figures, what a shit way to end a season, right? Which is understandable. But then he sent another text saying Ryan Tannehill is too expensive and he's hurting the rest of the roster, right? So again, we weren't seeing those things 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when they themselves were the 5th seed and they themselves went into the #1 seed Baltimore Ravens and upset them, which was a huge upset at the time, right? We only, as fans, we do this all the time, right? When we lose, our team loses, to a team we think is not as good as ours, we find ways to kind of criticize our roster instead of just saying, the Bengals just played a good game, right? I think if you were to play that game back between the Bengals and the Tennessee Titans, with how well the defense for Tennessee played and how much pressure they got on the Bengals, I think if you play that game 5-6 times, the Titans probably win 4 or 5 of those games. So again, the fact that the Bengals were able to win that game, you just have to give them credit. But I don't think necessarily Tennessee needs to do anything differently. I don't think they need to make a change at the quarterback position, because Tannehill obviously did not have a good game. But again, he's not going to have a good game every single time, but he does give you a very good chance to win. He is a very good quarterback, and he's shown in the 3 years now that he's been at Tennessee, he's played very well in that system. He's played very well with, obviously the roster that he does have. It's just a frustrating way to lose. Look at my team, right? My team lost. I had predicted that they were going to win to the Niners, but I came on here the very next week and gave credit to the Niners. They've had a great defensive game plan. They were able to really shut down the #1 offense in the league. That's what Dallas had. And again, you just give them credit for it. Unfortunately, if you're Dak Prescott, you know you missed some throws. You know you missed some plays on the field. And if you could have those back, yes, it would change the ball game. But again, you understand that it's not going to change my opinion of Dak Prescott. He's still a very good quarterback. I still love the fact that he's on our team moving forward. I have confidence that eventually one of these years he's going to break through and win us a Super Bowl. But again, that's the aspect of being a fan. But I also don't say, oh, Dak Prescott's overpaid, right? He puts up great regular season numbers and he never comes through in the postseason. Because again, you're talking about when you get into the postseason, you're only playing the very best teams. And when you play the very best teams, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. You're just not going to win every year. Look at Peyton. He won 1 ring in Indy, even though he was a 5-time MVP. So yes, I made the beginning of the video kind of a clickbaity thing. Probably going to say some talking shit about people who thought Stafford was, a stat pad or something like that. I'm going to definitely make a title around that. But again, if you made it this far, I really appreciate you out there. And again, I look forward to, obviously the off season is going to be very fun. Some key dates that we want to keep in mind for this offseason is going to be March 8th. That's going to be the tag deadline to franchise tag some players. Then you got March 14th is technically the start of free agency now. What they've done, they've changed it in the last couple of years, where March 14th through the 16th, you have 2 days of like a negotiating period with the free agents. And then the league year starts on March 16th, which is the official day that these players can sign free agency contracts. I don't know if you remember, but about 2 years ago, I think it was, CJ Mosley I think he had agreed to terms with another team, and during that 2-day negotiating period, and he decided to back out and he decided to sign a long-term deal with another team. So deals that are reported through those first 2 dates, they are technically, not signed because they can't sign, so the players could change their mind. Then obviously April 28th is the draft. I think I'm going to try to go to it. I believe it is in Las Vegas. I'm going to see how expensive it's going to be, but I'm going to try to attend that, so that should be fun. Obviously for this channel, key dates, not really key dates, but I'm going to try to obviously probably wait till after the franchise tag deadline is over, and then maybe just put out some videos about some off-season, decisions for some teams. Maybe I don't have to wait till the tag deadline, but I think I'm probably going to, seeing as that's just a couple weeks away. And I think that's obviously the biggest deal and the biggest kind of, that's like the biggest first step for these teams. But who knows? Maybe I won't wait the 2 weeks. Maybe I'll just wrap that all into one video where I just talk about off-season moves I think teams should make. But again, that's the end of the video. It's a little longer of a video because it's kind of a rant. You don't really see many of them on this channel. But again, if you made it this far, I hope you learned something, and I hope, kind of open your eyes to like the way we judge, just our players and our teams in general. Again, it's very difficult to win the Super Bowl. Look at the last team to repeat, right? It was probably, I think just off the top of my head, it was like 04, 05, right? The New England Patriots, I believe, were the last teams to actually go back-to-back. Because even New England, again, with Tom Brady, they don't think they won back-to-back, right? It was, he won one, got to another and lost to Philly, but then got back and won again. So even then, it wasn't back-to-back. So again, I think it's so difficult to repeat. It's so difficult to even get back to NFC Championship or an AFC Championship game back-to-back years. That's very difficult to do. You look back at some teams that you thought had stacked rosters. Seattle, obviously, yes, they came one play away from going back-to-back, but they didn't, right? And they had a stacked defense, one of the best defenses in NFL history. They couldn't do it. Look at those Denver teams with Peyton Manning when he was, just absolutely shattering his own records. Throwing for 55 touchdowns and just doing some crazy stuff there with their offenses. They only got one championship out of it. It's very difficult to win. But again, thank you guys so much for watching. I look forward to the off season and just updating you guys on the off season. Thank you guys so much. Bye.